Special counsel Robert Mueller's team has been hard at work. Today, investigators filed new charges against an attorney and former associate of ex-Trump campaign aide Rick Gates, who they say lied to federal investigators in the Russia investigation. Now, this comes after 13 Russian nationals were also charged Friday for election meddling. In response to the latest indictments, President Trump is criticizing his predecessor, President Obama. In a series of recent tweets, the president questioned why the Obama administration didn't, quote, do something about Russian meddling in 2016. He also cited a quote from Mr. Obama that said, "There's no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections," unquote. He accused President Obama of not wanting to rock the boat just before the election and claimed he has been much tougher on Russia than Mr. Obama. Now, this appears to be a shift from some of the president's previous comments on Russia, in which he denied it was Russia that tried to meddle in the election, called the investigation a, quote, hoax, and said he believed President Putin when Putin said Russia did not interfere. Ken Thomas is a White House correspondent for the Associated Press and joins me now from the North Lawn of the White House to talk about all this. Ken, thanks for being with us. In shifting the blame to President Obama, is President Trump making a valid point criticizing his predecessor in this way?
Well, he's trying to deflect some of the attention. But the question is, there are sanctions that have not yet been implemented, and is the White House going to act on those? I mean, in the last month, we've had a list of some Russian people and entities that the Treasury Department identified as potential problem actors, but there have not really been any sanctions that have followed up on those lists. And I think Democrats are saying, this is hypocrisy, that if you look at what President Obama did, he did actually, go after the Russians after these accusations of meddling, and they actually booted a number of Russian officials. They seized these two compounds, and so they feel like their list of actions are much more formidable and robust than anything President Trump has done in his first year plus in office.
Of course, now there's a big worry, though, on the part of a lot of Americans. They want to know what's being done to stop this. Now, we have midterm elections coming up, of course, another presidential election not too far in the future. And the word out is that the Russians have not stopped.
Right, and that's the fear that the indictments on Friday helped spawn, that you have this very elaborate conspiracy that the Russians were involved with in the last cycle. And this is all coming out on the heels of our primary season, where, in the next few months, we'll have a number of primaries that'll start. And then in the fall, we have these very important midterm elections. So the concern is, has the administration really led any efforts to make sure that we don't fall victim of this kind of cyber warfare in the future?
That's right, and that's still unclear right now. I'm going to move over a little bit now to the renewed push for gun control after the Florida school shooting. A new Washington Post poll finds that 77% of Americans believe Congress isn't doing enough to prevent mass shootings. 62% of Americans believe President Trump isn't doing enough either. So what action can we expect from the president on this issue?
So the White House has said that the president is open to tougher background checks, and we're going to see the White House working on this issue this week. We have a number of things lined up. We'll see some students and teachers here at the White House tomorrow. We're expecting some state and local officials to discuss this with the president later in the week. By the weekend, we'll have the governors in town. So we're expecting to see this school shooting take a top role. The question, though, is whether the appetite in Congress and from this administration is any different based on this school shooting in Parkland, Florida, versus some of the other tragic events we've had. I mean, there was discussion after the Las Vegas shooting that there might be an attempt to curb this use of bump stocks, which allows these bullets to be sprayed out, but we didn't see that go anywhere. And so really, it's unclear whether the president's going to really lean into this issue and push Congress to support tougher background checks, or if this is going to be like the other shootings that we've had, where there's a lot of interest and a lot of scrutiny and discussion of ways we can prevent it from happening in the future, and then it just sort of, dissipates.
Something feels a little different about this one, though, because so much of this is coming from the students themselves. There's something about the optics of young people, sort of our country's future, standing up and saying, we don't want to be shot, we don't want to be killed. There's something about that that's quite powerful.
That's what seems to stand out in this shooting compared to others. You've had a vocal group of students who had said, the president, this is on you. You need to do something about this. We're, seeing them going to Tallahassee now. We're expecting some sort of march on Washington in the months ahead. So, we could see this change because of student involvement. It seems like there are a lot of students who feel like they've reached a tipping point, and they feel like enough is enough, and the president and Congress need to act.
We know how energetic young people can be. All right, let's switch gears again. President Donald Trump has endorsed Mitt Romney in the Utah Senate race. The two, however, have had a strained history. It's no secret to anyone. We want to play some sound from their past.
It's my honor, real honor, and privilege to endorse Mitt Romney. Mitt is tough, he's smart, he's sharp. He's not going to allow bad things to continue to happen to this country that we all love.
There are some things that you just can't imagine happening in your life. This is one of them. Being in Donald Trump's magnificent hotel and having his endorsement is a delight.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University.
Mitt is a failed candidate. He failed. He failed horribly. He was begging for my endorsement. I could have said, Mitt, drop to your knees. He would have dropped to his knees. I said, Mitt Romney should not run. He's a choke artist.
President Trump is endorsing Mitt Romney in the Utah Senate race. The president tweeted yesterday that Romney, quote, will make a great senator and worthy successor to Orrin Hatch. Hatch is retiring at the end of the year. Romney tweeted a thanks for the president's support.
Wow, it never fails to entertain, but does this mean that the two just buried the hatchet via Twitter? Is it that easy?
That's quite a highlight reel. I think this is a case of letting bygones be bygones. The president would like to have a reliable vote from Utah in the Senate. He obviously has a lot of differences with Mitt Romney, but he looks at him as someone who he could work with. And I think Governor Romney, on the flip side, does not want this president to encourage someone to primary him on the right or mess around in this what looks to be a very clear shot for Mitt Romney to win this Senate seat. So I think both of them would just assume they come together to avoid any future skirmishes. It's in their best interest to do so.
Everyone's playing it safe here. In March 2016, Romney tweeted, quote, if Trump had said 4 years ago the things he says today about the KKK, Muslims, Mexicans, disabled, I would not have accepted his endorsement. But this time around, he seems to be okay with it.
Yeah, and I think, for Romney, he will have to answer to some of these criticisms that he's made of the president in the past. Utah was a place that wasn't exactly fertile territory for President Trump. As you remember, Evan McMullin did very well in that state during the campaign. But I think in large part, there's just this understanding that it's best for both of them to move on and to not get into a fight that's going to distract time, attention, and resources.
They're looking forward, not backward, which we, of course, course, love to do. All right. At the same time, Ken, the president is urging Republicans in Pennsylvania to challenge a new court-imposed congressional map. Now, as you know, it overhauls the Republican-drawn district lines and may very easily boost Democrats in November. So does this suggest the president is legitimately concerned with Republicans keeping their majority come Election Day?
I think it does. Look, if you're looking for one state that might tell you whether Democrats can win back the House or not, go to Pennsylvania. You have 13 out of 18 seats currently held by Republicans, and this map, there's a thinking that it could shift maybe 6 seats or so. So, and many of these places are in suburbs, which is key to the Democrats' argument in the fall and their ability to win back the House. So, expect to see a lot of litigation on this map over the next couple months, and this is going to be hard fought because if Democrats can hold on to this map, it might allow them to pick up seats, and they need 24 seats in total to win back the House, and Pennsylvania could be playing a very key role in all of this.
Everyone will certainly be watching closely for sure. Ken Thomas, thank you so much.
Good to be with you.